pause, breathe. Welcome to episode 175 of the Phil Swallow podcast, broadcasting live on the 28th, I think, of October. It is just after 7:30. Not that matters when it's shown on a replay, but you get the gist. So, I've got a list here, because I often think I'm doing these at about once a month-ish, and I think, what have I been up to? And I think, will there be enough to keep everyone interested? Hopefully there is. There's certainly been a lot going on. So, without further ado, firstly, I've got a terrible bad back at the moment, albeit it's a little bit easier. I've got YouTube playing on my phone, get rid of that. It's been a bit easier today. I was in agony yesterday, and for those of you that I connect with on Facebook, and you can follow me on Facebook, you don't have to do the friend thing, you can just follow me if you don't want to befriend me. Yes, so I just put a little comment on there, tongue-in-cheek, because I was at Crystal Palace, and it was a case of when I sat down, it was fine. The back wasn't really that painful, but when I was getting up, it was absolute agony, and then a kind of stretch and then move around. It wasn't too bad. And so I just put this comment on Facebook about hopefully Palace don't score too many goals today. They're the lowest scorers in the Premier League. And so I don't have to keep getting up and suffering the back pain. And Palace won the game 1-0, first win of the season, so that was really good. And they probably read my Facebook page by being very kind to me. So, yeah, lots of people watching, be careful what you say. That's great. No, I love it. The more the merrier. The more the merrier. So anyway, bad back. And I went out today and I invested in this. I had an old tube of this Voltarol stuff. I've got a few props here today, by the way. I had an old tube and it run out of date. Wasn't anything in there. And when I went out this morning, which I'll talk about next, I was able to pop into Sainsbury's, buy the gel, and then there's too much information. No, buy the gel, apply it in the loos there, and then get on my way. So the link, segue, where did I go today? I went to Imber Court today. I don't know if anyone knows anything about Imber Court, but the background to this is a year or two ago, I made a video about a Sanderstead policeman and veteran of Charge of the Light Brigade, Benjamin Beeson. And I met his grandson, Headley, and we'd arranged to go to the museum at Imber Court. It's over Thames Ditton Way, over near Hampton Court. And we'd arranged to meet up there, firstly, just to kind of, face to name, and we'd been liaising on email. And we had a look at the museum there, and they've actually got a whole cabinet dedicated to Benjamin Beeson's life. And again, I was concerned about getting out of the car when I got there. It was an hour in the car, but the back was okay, drugged up. And we went in there, brilliant. The people there were excellent. We were shown around. I fed some carrots to the police horses that were undergoing their kind of training. I mean, they were in stables. They were quite safe, and I was safe. But it was great, and the lovely facility they've got there where they train, they kind of select from there the horses, bring them in, do the training, and ultimately they're kind of allocated out to the different stables that represent the Metropolitan Police setup. And they're involved in things like football, crowd control kind of things, riots. They were talking about the riots last summer or the summer just gone where some of the horses had bikes thrown at them and all sorts. So, yeah, terrible. But they go through a lot of training and familiarisation, and it was just great to see Benjamin and one of the Headley, and one of the photos they had there in the museum was when the Queen had made a visit there, probably in the 1970s, and the picture was taken of the Queen looking at the Benjamin Beeson display, and apparently she was quite interested in his story, which is wonderful. So I'm kind of building that story out a bit more, and I do talks about it from time to time. There may even be a need for a follow-up video at some stage. And last week I'd been to the archive at Bethlem Hospital, which I'll talk again a bit more about that as we go through. So that was starting today, and I'm going to kind of work back a bit now. So in terms of recent videos, I hope you're all up to date, but I did my, again, slight tongue-in-cheek Warlingham North video because that was the best title I could describe it with, because it was covering the area kind of generally northwest of Warlingham Green. And it was just some things that people have suggested in the comments from other videos. And coupled with that was the fact that I found some things of historical interest, both on maps and also when I went to Surrey History Centre recently. So putting all that together, going out with this and telling a story, a second prop, and then telling the story about North Warlingham North. But it was a nice little video, went down well. I don't know, I often tweak the editing things, and I made a decision with this. I'm going to kind of dispense with some of the initial graphics and things that I do and just go straight into the video from now on, just to try and get the momentum up from the off. So some people may want to know a bit more about context, but I just thought if you switch it on, I just want to get into the action, as it were, and start telling the stories. So that was Warlingham North. And then the most recent one is Tatsfield. That was thoroughly enjoyable. I've got to thank once again my mate Graham, but I also had the benefit of Ian and Tim on that video. So I designed that to be we kind of collaborated on it, designed it to be a bit of a loop around the village. I was conscious that we weren't going to pick out all aspects of the history of Tatsfield. But that said, we did cover quite a bit, particularly the interesting story of Beacon Shaw at the end, and Donald MacLean, one of the Cambridge spies, that basically he defected from that house back in 1951. So I had a bit of a story there with Tim, who lives there now. And a number of people in the comments have said, well, what about this and what about that and what about other parts of Tatsfield? So there are plans, I can't talk, there are plans already now for a part 2. I'm not sure when that'll be. It probably will be slightly different format because we're going to kind of go in different pockets of Tatsfield village, but it's quite amazing how much history there is in that fairly small village, really. Although it is sort of out on its own a bit, but actually if you go through the back of Tatsfield, it kind of connects up with the back of Biggin Hill, the lower part of Biggin Hill, if you know your geography of that area. So yeah, that was quite something. So I'm looking forward to kind of getting the band back together again and doing another video on Tatsfield. What else have I done? Surrey History Centre. So I went there. That was a bit of they do this archive card where you register for a card. I don't think there's any fee involved, but you register it and it's your access card to get into the archives. I think it works for various county archives, but I've got a card for that. I've got a card for the National Archives, card for the London Metropolitan Archives. I'm kind of collecting these things. But yeah, I went down there just to see what they had. There were different, I was after sort of Hamsey Green Aerodrome information. It was a bit light on that. But one thing I did find which was really interesting was this huge map. And it was basically how the area from Sanderstead roundabout, All Saints Church area, all the way through to Warlingham Green was divided up into lots and then developed to become all of the housing in Hamsey Green, some of the housing between Hamsey Green and Warlingham, and various bits and pieces in between. So that was quite useful. And again, it had the lots there that represented the plot for Hamsey Green Airfield. So I was able to kind of confirm when that was kind of divided up and sold off, originally part of the farm. So, excuse me, quick swig. What else? So, yeah, Bethlem. So I'd got in touch with Bethlem Hospital some time ago, and I spoke to, they do these walk-in tours from time to time. It's a working hospital, but they've got the archives there. And I'd ascertained through some inquiries that they have the records there for Warlingham Park Hospital. So when the hospital closed, it went there as part of the ideal archive location. And I think it as part of one of the more recent moves, they had some of the information digitised onto Find My Past. So if you're interested in doing research into matters relating to Warlingham Park, and they've got patient records online. If you've got a Find My Past membership, you can look into that. I think sometimes they do a freebie membership around the time of the armistice, so that's coming up soon. And so I'd met David Luck, the archivist, and then Sue and I went to a talk in Bromley. It was the Bromley Borough Local History Group, I think that's their name, or Society. And anyway, we went there and David gave a talk and I had a chat with him afterwards, arranged a visit subsequently. So I was able to look at Benjamin Beeson's patient record. He had 2 records and actually they took photos, or they take photos of each, took photos of each patient there. And he had one where he was initially admitted to hospital, and then one when he moved to become a private patient. And all the records, all the information, and even though it's written by doctors, you can understand it, not like the days of prescriptions not being particularly well understood. So that was fascinating to go around there last week, and it was basically looking at the patient information for Benjamin, and also I wanted to get an understanding of some of the plans. So when I did my walk that went around I've done 2 walks that have gone near to the Warlingham Park or Great Park Estate where Ramsey, who's on the chat, lives. So I'd kind of mentioned some of the things that I'd seen on maps. So there was the Pinnell House location. So that was originally it was an isolation hospital because in the mid last century, a lot of these diseases we didn't have vaccines for then, and the like, they didn't have the treatments, and so you would kind of put into one of those hospitals separate to the rest of the patients, obviously to control any risk of spread. And then that became an alcoholic dependency unit. I'm sorry if I got the terminology wrong. So that was in the maybe the 60s, 70s, and they had some plans there for when it was extended. And it was okay seeing the layout there. I mean, the layouts match some of the good maps that we've got, so I was able to see some of that. But also they had the original kind of blueprint plans for when the hospital was built in the late 19th century. Fascinating, the detail on there. I mean, I took some photos. They're only really for personal use as such, but it was great to see that layout of that building. And with some of these visits, you kind of you shouldn't really expect to get everything you need on one visit. Part of the visit is to almost suss out what they've got and get a feel for it, and then you can go back on a subsequent visit and maybe see what you're actually after in detail. Most of these good archives have an index online, so you can inquire through the index to the records you're interested in. They'll have a reference number, and you say, I'm interested in that reference number, and that might be a box of papers or whatever it might be, a ledger, or in my case plans, huge plans that we had to put out over a big desk. And from there you can do your research investigation, which is wonderful. So yeah, it's just a case of keeping those references together. Ramsey, I've just done a quick look at your comment there. So learnt a fair bit from the Tatsfield video. Didn't realise the connection with EastEnders. Yeah, David Scarborough, and the post dramatisation. It did have an impact on public opinion. I must admit, when we first met with the guys to plan the Tatsfield video, I mean, we'd watched the series, Mr. Bates in the Post Office on ITV, and as I mentioned in that video, much of that story is still ongoing. There's still a lot of settlements haven't been made. So they said, oh yeah, it was filmed here, and I think someone had done a tally that over the course of the various episodes, I can't remember how many episodes there was sort of over 2.5 minutes of footage, which doesn't sound a lot, but it actually is, really, because so often these are just clips and snippets. So I was in between the filming and understanding that story and actually editing it and getting it ready for release. Ian was doing some brilliant work behind the scenes, and he managed to get some footage that people had actually taken, which I included in the video. So that's the actual filming of some of the scenes. I think it's where the inspectors meet Monica Dolan's character outside, and then they all go in, and then there's cut, and then they move on. And also a nice little picture of the dolly camera on the other side of the pond, which had various kind of crates and apple boxes and things, so that they could just smoothly run the camera along and take that view from that side. So it was great to just see that behind the scenes, and I'm very grateful for that. I was allowed to kind of use those in the video. So that was that, and that comment brings us geographically to something that came about when I did the Worms Heath video, and I'm going to move to my browser and hope that you can see the browser. So if you could let me know in the chat, can you see what is currently a map showing the police station? This isn't really what I was going to show. So look, this is how I started the story of Benjamin Beeson, because I saw on the map in Limpsfield Road the horse patrol. So yeah, if you could give me a little comment, little thumbs up that you can see the browser, that'd be great. And when I get that, I'll kind of move on and share what I've got here. I know there's a bit of a delay coming in, so I will keep an eye on that. So, Jeff, I think, had mentioned Lord Geoffrey Harrison. Brilliant, thanks, Paul. Lord Geoffrey Harrison on the call, not a lord, but Jeff had mentioned to me about this plane crash on Worms Heath, and initially I did some research, couldn't find anything. And then on Facebook, of all places, someone posted this clip. The advantage of that was it gave me some dates and things to research. So went back on my research. This is from the British Newspaper Archive. So this is 1946. 18 die in 2 RAF plane crashes. So it says 18 people were killed in 2 RAF crashes yesterday, 8 in a Transport Command Dakota, which crashed in the Surrey Hills near Chelsham, and 10 in a separate incident, Leon Solent. So the Dakota, belonging to a Canadian squadron, was bringing RAF and Army personnel from Buckburg to Croydon on compassionate leave. There were 20 passengers and a crew of 4. In addition to the 8 killed, 13 were injured and 3 escaped. Wreckage was strewn over a wide area, and after the plane hit an 800-foot ridge at Worms Heath. Well, we are aware of that, those who know the area, and ploughed its way through woodland and finally broke up in a field 100 yards from Beach Farm. So when I did just quickly swap back, slickly, I'll go back to that in a minute because there's another one I want to show you. Brilliant, I'm glad you can all see it, thank you. When I did the video on the gun emplacement, that was basically the Beach Farm area. So where that road goes along, that main road, that Worms Heath road, it falls away, which must be the area that it was coming in from, and it hit that hillside, and then obviously the crash and the impact and the speed spilled over to the fields nearby. So let's just go back to, I think you should be back again. So, and then there's another bit of the story about, here we go, 100 yards. Mr. William Tamplin of Belham House, Chelsham said, I reached the plane shortly after it crashed. Fragments were scattered for over a quarter of a mile. There was thick fog at the time. Now, I think one of the other reports, I haven't got all of them up here, I've got some pictures here to show you. Someone had said that all the conditions were fine at the time when the plane took off, but obviously the fog can close in there somewhat, and this is sadly what happened. So this is from The Sphere, February the 23rd, 1946, and quite horrific, the wreckage here. Hopefully you can all see that, depending on what device you're looking at. So, and this is the wreckage of the Royal Canadian Air Force Dakota after it has crashed at Chelsham near Chelsham, Surrey, with the loss of 9 lives. In the foreground is the smashed tail unit, so that's here. And then in the greater part of the fuselage lies in the distance. So, and it mentions the story again there and here. So that's the propeller blade dug deep into the ground on Worms Heath. Shocking, really. Now, there was one story that I also read here. I haven't got it with me, but I'll share it with you. And one of the passengers on the plane was due to attend a conference up in London, and they had the passenger list, and they were going through the passenger list to make sure that they could account for everyone that would have been on board, whether they survived or unfortunately whether they didn't. And they couldn't account for this fella. And what had happened is that he survived the crash. He had an engagement at a conference in London, so he'd booked a taxi from the crash site to take him to the conference in London. He attended the conference in London, and after that suffered delayed shock and had to be treated and everything, but the communication managed to get around so that they could actually kind of account for him. But I mean, it was quite British in a way. I must attend this, and the fact they've just been in a terrible plane crash that, caused loss of life. But yeah, so that's what happened. This guy, he'd managed to get to all the way up to London, and then obviously you're going to suffer shock at some point. So I'm pleased that I found that. So I'm sometimes with these things, I'm loath to try and identify the exact spot. As you can see from the photos, it wasn't just one spot, it was everywhere. I'm sure that the farmland around there has been worked and probably metal detected, but I wouldn't want people to go up there with metal detectors on what is private land. So, I'm pleased that we got to the bottom of that story. And Jeff, yeah, thanks for flagging it at the time. And it's obviously a kind of nice way to close that one off. So, what else has been happening? Well, I did a joint talk at the Croydon Natural History and Scientific Society back in September. That was with Carol Roberts, who's the president of CNHSS, a brilliant organisation. If you've ever got those books of Croydon in the 40s and 50s, or aerial Croydon, or Croydon then and now type books, the CNHSS have been behind all of those over the years. They've been going well over 150 years. So the talk was mainly about the history of Overhill House, and I did a bit on the Gardner family from Hamsey Green Aerodrome, and also did a talk at Sanderstead Women's Guild, also on the Gardeners at Hamsey Green Aerodrome. So that was they're a lovely group down there, and there's a lady there that knew my mum, so I'm going to put them in touch, and they'll have a chat at some point. The other thing I've been working on is memberships. So you may have seen these on other YouTube channels. And one of the things that I enjoy from both this format and also from the comments is to have some kind of two-way conversation. It's really helped to kind of develop what I do. It points out sometimes errors that I've made on footpaths and the like. So I wanted to sort of get the ball rolling on memberships where you can kind of join the channel, and we interact more as a community. You do get some other things like special use of emojis and things that I've created with my face animated on it, and just a kind of way of belonging. There's a small price to pay of less than a cup of coffee. It's $2.99 a month. You don't have to join to carry on doing what you're doing now, but it's just a way of supporting what I do. And obviously I'd be very grateful for any support that you can give. I did a tot-up the other day of the costs to run the channel. When I say run the channel, it's to do things like backups and software licenses and research sources. And it's £500-600 a year. So yeah, anything that can help will be absolutely wonderful. Thanks, Jeff. Have the RAF not got a tribute near the spot for the families of the bereaved? Not aware of that. I mean, in that area and all the way along there into Tatsfield, I know a hurricane came down near Botley. I suppose there's almost a limit to how many places that they could put a relevant plaque or whatever. I know that there are some dotted around. So I still mean to meet up with Linda from the Kenley Aerodrome Trust, Kenley Revival. So we're going to look at some of the sort of pre and post-war crashes that took place around the Whiteleaf and Riddlesdown area, but we will do that at some stage. So looking ahead, prop number 3 he gets tomorrow. The plan is to go to Godstone. I don't know if that's clear, but yeah, Graham and I are going to meet up. We're going to go to Godstone now. This particular leaflet that I just showed there was produced by the Bourne Society in 1998. So that was by Peter Fernay, drawings by Gwyneth Fuchs. Gwyneth is still actively involved and does the Facebook posts for the Bourne Society. Does a brilliant job. But yeah, this is a walk. There's a short and a long walk. We're planning to do the long one. It's about 4 miles. And when I just saw the plan for this walk, I didn't realise just how much there was going on at Godstone. So I'm looking forward to that. I think the weather forecast is quite reasonable. So prop number 4, only because I didn't show it. The microphones. I don't know why I'm doing this today. I just thought a bit different, isn't it? Carol's late to the party. Evening all. Hi Carol. Hope you're well. So Godstone tomorrow. That is the plan. And I would say if anyone's missed any of my talking so far, obviously this is saved as a replay. I just cut off the preamble bit when I was mucking about trying to log in. So it's quite a busy time actually for videos. Excuse me. One of my very popular videos has been Croydon, the Croydon series, and they've always been a different format. This year will be the 5th that I've done. So 2020 was the first one. So looking to do a revisit to some of the sites that I highlighted in the first video. The first one was a really kind of basic one. But it just to see how Croydon's changed over the time. So and I might pick some other bits that I learned a bit more about, and something I discovered only the other day that I didn't know existed in Croydon. So I'm going to highlight some of those, but they go down very well. They have quite a big viewership. Hi, Julie. So Croydon refresh in November, and that will definitely be filmed in November. So how about a fundraising local history pub quiz? Yeah, that'd be interesting. I'll rule nothing in or out. So Croydon refresh in November. Croydon water history is still planned to do at some point. Have I done anything on Crystal Palace Park? No. I mean, I've been to the subway, went last year, and I think I don't know if it's fully open now, but there was a few postings on it recently. So I rule nothing in or out. It's just sort of how I gradually spread out, really. But certainly Crystal Palace is fascinating, and the history there, connection with the football club, of course. So that might be a good one for the list as well. I've not put down on here, and I will, but I'm going to do one fairly soon on... I don't know how to style it. It came about because someone who watches my stuff on the channel got in touch and was talking about a specific house that their mum lived in on Featherbed Lane, which is now part of Forestdale. But the land all around what was Forestdale was kind of small holdings and little piggeries and various other things. The land wasn't great for working and growing crops, but it was allocated to people, soldiers who fought in the First World War, so they got the land at a good price. And then much later on, decades later, when Waits came along and said, we'll offer you this amount. Whilst nowadays the reaction may be different, there was a need for housing, and I think it meant that some of the landowners made a good profit. So it was a bit of a double-edged thing. You know, do we want all this build taking place? But you know, I'm working on the story for that. But I did some drone footage when we had some weather the other day, so I'll include that. I haven't done any drone stuff for a little while. So that's going to happen, Featherbed Lane. Tatsfield Part 2 is already building up. Not quite sure when that will be. I'm probably also going to do a Tatsfield Then and Now. For those of you who may not be familiar, the Then and Now videos, I've got a few on my channel. I've actually got a playlist for them, and it's where I take an old kind of postcard image and I show the building that exists today and to a bit of a blend between the two, and they work quite nicely with a bit of music. So that's that. So I've got video-wise, that's going to keep me quite busy. Bourne Society talk in January, and that we haven't confirmed the subject matter yet, but it's probably going to be some of the history around the West Hall area of Warlingham. If you know Warlingham, you'll know West Hall Road, but there's a lot of history to that whole plot up there at the top of the hill, so we're going to bring that to life. We've got I've been asked to do a talk at East Surrey Museum in February next year. One of the things I quite like about that is that they want me to talk about, this. They want me to talk about, hi Kev, and hi to Jeff Harrison from Kevin Boniface. There you go. So they want me to do a talk about what I do with these videos, what I've discovered. So I'm really quite keen on that one. There's going to be some fun. So I haven't put anything together yet, but that'll be February. In terms of venue, it was quite funny when we spoke about how they decide where it's going to be shown. They basically got a limit to how many people they can seat in the museum to do a talk there, and they put it out as you have to kind of register RSVP for the event, and if you get a big number you move to the Soper Hall. So I'm hoping it's not a popularity contest, but I will be promoting it, and it would be great if any of you can come along to that chat. And I know you know the stuff, but there'll always be some little behind the scenes stuff that I can share if you're in the area. So that's going to be done in February. Also, they asked if I would help them or do a promotional video for the museum, which I'd said I'd be delighted to do. So I'm going to film some footage. It'll just be almost like an advert, really. I'm going to be pointing the camera around different displays in the museum, but not enough so that you feel you don't have to go to the museum. I mean, it wouldn't be. They've got all sorts of artefacts down there. It's a great place just down on the corner of Stafford Road, bottom of Chelsham on the hill. So that's a plan, and again, much more there. So sorry, Ramsey, I did look at that. So yes, a bomb attack from 1913 at Oxted train station that Tom Parker Bowles recalled in his review of the Gurkha kitchen. I've eaten in the Gurkha kitchen, so that is something that I will consider doing something about as well. So there's no real hard and fast method about where I go next. I've just forgotten there was another one. For Bromley History Group, I'm going to do a talk about the Addington Works Repair Depot, the Air Ministry Works Repair Depot, that was basically just along Kent Gateway, and there was a crew of builders, to be honest, for want of a better term, and they repaired the runways at Croydon, Biggin Hill and Kendy during the Battle of Britain, and they were based there. So I did a video about that, and I'm going to tell the story to a group of real people in their very well attended history society. That'll be May next year. So the diary's filling up. I think I've got 4 or 5, maybe 6 confirmed for 2025 already, which is lovely. Lost my train of thought. Yes, the areas that I cover. So initially it was kind of starting with the area that I live in now, and then where I might go to, and then where I live now, where I used to live. And I found that that's been as rich as anything with history. But now I want to fill in some of these other areas that are close by, but I've not particularly covered in too much depth. So I did a then and now of Coulsdon, but I feel I need to do a little bit of a walk there. West Wickham has got a lot going on there. It's nearby to where I live. I'll do something there. Someone mentioned, this is a big teaser because I'm going to probably put it in the next video. Bletchingley, probably going to do something there as well. A lot of history. Stuart Higgins, have you or could you do something about the changing skyline of Croydon? That's a very, very good point, Stuart. And now you've made me think about a different angle that I could use for the upcoming video. So a few years ago, my son and his then fiance lived in one of the large apartments in East Croydon, and they've moved away now. But I took some skyline pictures then. Actually, sold quite a few on Shutterstock. Well, for a few pennies. That would probably have changed quite a bit because we're moving from office blocks to residential blocks of apartments and flats, which are probably taller than some of the office blocks. Old Coulsdon, nudge, nudge. Yes, Carol, most definitely. Coulsdon's going to happen. So yes, and I think I was over when I was driving over to Imber Court today, all around the Tolworth. Is that the Toby Jug? But where the Tolworth bowling place is. There are still some very big offices with big to let signs on them, but also I'm sure that there are places that were other office blocks before that are now clearly blocks of flats. So I mean, if that helps with the housing challenges, then yeah, that would be something. But Croydon, when I looked into Croydon from outside recently, it was a bit of a wow moment. I just actually studied just how it has changed. Maybe some of the residential development might help to give it a lift, because if there's people demanding local shops and things, something needs to happen. Cal Holmes, a bit off topic, but I finally made it to Hampshire Green to visit my girlfriend. Kingswood was indeed gorgeous. Everything I hoped it would be, that's for sure. Cal, I think if I remember rightly, you were in the States, coming over from the States. So I'm delighted. Yeah, Hampshire Green is wonderful, and Kingswood, yeah, very special. Hopefully picking up some of the stuff that I've covered in the videos helped to make it a bit more of an in-depth visit, I hope. That's what I aim for. Charrington Bowl, yeah. I think it said Hollywood Bowl on there now, and there was a sign when I was at the traffic light saying we're still open for business. So there was obviously some development going on. Ah, brilliant. Okay, thanks, Cal. Yeah. So yes, in terms of where to go next, I mean, there is. I juggle a lot of things. I don't do kind of traditional retirement. I packed up work over 5 years ago, and I know we had that pandemic thing in the middle of it all, but I've not fallen short of things to do. Obviously there's still family things that go on as well, looking after mum and this and that, but I think now I've got into a kind of way of working with the videos. So I think with any of these things, you have to kind of stop at a certain point where you say, well, I can research this forever and I'll never actually cut the video. So I kind of think, I think there's enough to tell a story, and maybe try and point out things about areas that people might go past every single day, on a bus or a train or in the car or whatever it might be. And I try and say, well, did you know that was there? That's kind of my aim with a lot of these things, just a bit of education. So that's it's just juggling all those things together. But I have to say, it's incredibly fulfilling doing this stuff. It really is. I suppose it's the creativity. I spent my working life, my 40 years, doing doing what I was told, and using the left side of my brain, and now I can use the other side, and it's great fun. Did you know, Phil, the thatched house down Searchwood Road was the kids' playhouse from who owned the estate there? Searchwood Road. I can't remember Searchwood Road it's Warlingham, isn't it? But I can't remember it off the top of my head. So no, that's something else to look into. One of the other things I found when I was, in fact, why don't we just go back quickly to a map? Because one of the things I wanted to cover today was some of the other places that I look at when I do the research. So this is a free website, and it's the National Library of Scotland, and it is absolutely wonderful. And I'll just do a bit of a quick example of how useful it could be. So there's certain maps that have a good level of detail. So when you're looking at them, you're going to learn stuff. So this is one of my starting points. This is 1888 to 1915. And there's one a little bit later. That one's not refreshing very well. My favourite maps are this series, and they seem to be in different. I'll see if I can find a full one. No. Stay with me, guys. Stay with me. So these grid maps, make it a bit bigger. So this is Sanderstead, and they have all the detail you could ever wish to see. Because I'm going to go in even more. So we got Limpsfield Road, for those that know, Wentworth Way, and all the house numbers. Not only that, but using this slider here, we can go back to today, we can go forward to today, and we can look at different map views here. Let's go to let's find a world image. There we go. Yeah, reasonable. So you can go from the 1950s to today, and that's why I find it really quite something. And if I go to 150 Limpsfield Road that I did a video on, there's the gap. Can we see that right in the middle there? And there it is today, all covered with trees and vegetation and the like. And it's difficult to say what's been if there was one thing that has really helped in terms of, not Searchwood, Hilby Road. Oh, right, okay, well, I will look into that, Jeff. It's difficult to say what is the one thing that has been really valuable when putting all this stuff together, but that is pretty close, and it's completely free. They do give some guidance to that, but if you literally Google NLS, National Library of Scotland, it's not just Scotland, as you can see, but it's because you can find a location of something confirm that it is the place you're looking at by using one of those sliders. Actually, I'm just going to go back because I wanted to point out something else. You can also use these LiDAR maps. Let's just go out a little bit. So this is where you get an idea of elevation. So again, so this is the back of the properties as you go behind Wentworth Way. And the LiDAR map showing the elevations, you can see that there's like a ridge there where it drops down towards Riddlesdown and all the indentations here. LiDAR's a fantastic technology. So back. Yes, so the map free, that's, in many ways, that's how the whole thing kicked off, because I was looking on a map, the 1890s one, saw the Lipsfield Road, saw there was a police station, had no idea what it was about, and that kind of set me off on the story of Benjamin Beeson and beyond. So I've found, and if you've got an inquiring mind, such as is quite useful to all this stuff, have a dig around on the National Library of Scotland site. And just to be clear, actually I'm going to do another quick thing to try and help you here. A lot of flitting around. So this is their homepage. Okay, and what you're looking for, I think it's under digital resources, and we are looking for map images, geo-referenced maps, and that's how you get to that page I was on. And you literally just type in whatever you're looking for, Oxted, and it'll come up Tandridge, and then it just defaults to whatever map you're last on, and then we can go into Oxted. And sometimes, there's a lot of water features all the way around there. Sometimes you know, that might be enough to say, oh, that's interesting. And you could do other clever things, like if there's a specific thing that you find on an old map, whatever that might be, sandpit, you can actually go and show coordinates. So click on the map to show coordinates. And here you can copy those coordinates then into a current map like Apple and Google Maps. You may have to play around with it a little bit. And then you can go to that location, providing it's not private land. Right, I'm going to put in the chat. So let me put the actual... I'll tell you what I do. If I put this link in the chat... there we go. It doesn't let me paste with keyboard shortcuts. Right, I'm putting that in now. Now, if someone could test that for me, that should take you to the page that I had showing there, which was just zoomed in on Oxted, and just going back to the browser again. So that should open up on this page, hopefully. And all you'll need to do then, because that's on Oxted, you may not want to look at Oxted, is go to that box on the top left, modern place names, and type in what you're searching for. So, Old Coulston, for example. Click on that one, and then from here, I don't want to look at the coordinates anymore. Go away, close off. And from here, you can zoom and drag around, and again use the slider. And the slider will go back to whatever image you've chosen under here. And there's quite a few to choose from. I tend to favour these, either the modern kind of street map type view or the world image, depending on what you're looking for, really. So I hope that's been of some use to people. I should say this very quietly, I don't know why they don't charge. I'm glad they don't. Because it's just so good. So, and that grid map, so if you look at the maps around the there's a few, and some of the maps on that section, I'm going to go back again. I hope you don't mind all this flitting about. Where are we? So the map you're selecting to view on the screen, hang on, let me just take away right. So the map you're selecting here is controlled on this viewer. Some of these are a different kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Scale. So you just get that. So there's a nice little thing you can do, unless they've taken it away. Let me go to always these 1888 ones. They're useful. They may have changed it. There used to be a way of only showing maps that have got this level of detail or greater. But it tends to be the 1888 ones, the 1892 ones, occasionally these ones. Yeah, occasionally these ones. So write this down. 1830s, 1888, 1892. And then you've got the grid maps. So, and these are a mixture of what they cover. Some areas are better than others. But if you click on one of these and it's only got half of it, there's a chance that one of the others might have all of it or the other bits, if that all makes sense. I think they've got some air photos on some of them. These are available on Google Earth. You can get air images. And actually, while I'm on the browser, this is a bit of a kind of learning session today, isn't it? Let me know in the comments if you find this helpful, and I'm happy to do it again. So this is another one. This almost might need its own session. So I'm going to type in Hamsey Green. So it goes to the whatever is on the map, Hamsey Green Primary School. And if you click, I'm just clicking in a square here, and it's telling me it's got 14 aerial images for this area. So let me just scroll through because I'm looking for something specific. Some are bigger than others. There we go. Taking a while to build. Right, there's a reason why I want this one. So, what do we know about this image? Well, you may be able to see that's pretty good quality. This will be an RAF image. So it says flown 29th of May 1947. And I'm going to zoom in. It lets you zoom in a little. So they're the two hangars for Hamsey Green Airfield. This is in Kingswood Lane with the kind of concrete runoff areas. No aircraft visible in the field when this was done. It wasn't really operational there. And then we'll just go up. So this is Hamsey Green Farm. That is now Martin Close. The Good Companions will be about here, about 10 years after that. Hamsey Green Pond is this area. And these shops haven't even been built. The fish and chip shops about there, if you know your area. And there's Hamsey Green Gardens there. So the detail is quite impressive because this was done back by the RAF. They would have used, no doubt, these type of resolution cameras for, reconnaissance and all that sort of stuff. So that was another one. Shall I put that? I'll put that in the. Let's go to the where did I start with? Aerial Photo Explorer. Bear with me. I feel I'm all over the place today. Aerial Photo Explorer. Yeah, that is the page. So I'll put that also into the chat. I mean, all I'd say is be respectful about where you might share it. Most of the time I'm using these for, just to develop the research. I have used them sometimes in videos. There's a fair use policy, if you like, that you can have. So that's something that I would call upon if I was challenged, but it's only shown for a short period of time. It's education, which comes under fair use. Mullards and Phillips factory, where would they be, Stuart? Are we talking Purley Way at all? If you can let me know on that one. I've done some bits. I did a short. There's these short sort of vertical videos. I did one of those on, I think, on the perfume factory, which name escapes me now. But it's on Purley Way, not far down from the airport. And my brain's gone blank. But yes, it's still there now. French name. Someone will know. Yes, so guys, I'm kind of thinking of wrapping up fairly soon. I I just thought I'll try these things today, just to see if Bourgeois. Thank you, Carol. That's the one. Brilliant. And there's some wonderful old pictures of the Bourgeois factory. So I just thought I'd try this. Just to share with you some of the kind of behind the scenes of what I use, and I find that the newspaper archive is a subscription. It's about, I tend to pay these annually because it's a bit cheaper, 80 quid or something. They'll probably put it up again this year. With any of these subscriptions, I think how much use do I get out of it? I get loads of use out of that. You'd be surprised. Something you might think, oh, there won't be much on that. Go straight to it. And they've recently added Daily Express and Sunday Express, whereas a lot of what they do is digitising local publications. So, so I'll have to look at that. So, well, thank you all. It's just been wonderful to have so much engagement. I love it. So, really appreciate that. If you're interested in joining, so we can do this in a different format, a kind of a Zoom type meeting, that would be wonderful. Join details are on the channel page and below all the videos, I think. So that would be lovely. In the meantime, yes, I will, as you can see, I've got quite a few planned over the coming weeks and months, but I'm loving every minute, and it's great to get this kind of this feedback to justify it in some ways, but no, just to keep it going. I'm not planning to go anywhere. It's it's kind of, it's my pleasure piece, my workflow, whatever you want to call it. So I will say thank you. I will close off the call. Yes, keep going for another half hour. I've probably got some jobs to do. But yeah, so this obviously will stay there. It'll be online for recording or playback. And when it's available for me to edit, I'll just take out the preamble, because no one wants to hear that and watch me looking at my screen and showing off the top of me bonce. Good. Thank you all. Really appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Guys and gals, but you know what I mean, guys. Cheers, Ramsey. Right. Thanks very much, and look after yourselves. Catch up with you soon. Bye.